Hey, Bill 42 for Project Zomboid has brought a lot of changes in terms of occupations and traits, a complete makeover, if you will, making some of the tried and true negative traits come at a cost finally. In this video, we're going to be discussing all things occupations and traits so you can come into the zombie apocalypse brimming with wisdom and knowledge. So we're going to start with the negative traits, as there have been a lot of changes and debuffs to some of the most go-to negative traits out there. For example, in Bill 41, I chose literally 20 plus points of negative traits because I viewed them as non-consequential to my style of play. This has changed significantly. I feel like we should start out with these. So the first one is going to be high thirst. And as you can see, high thirst needs more water to survive, plus 100% thirst. This is usually one of my go-to traits. What I've found is that it's doubling your thirst rate, and in real world terms, this penalty kind of means that you're either having to either carry more water with you, which means more weight, which is actually kind of important now in Bill 42, or spend more time refilling your water bottle. At the beginning, when water is abundant, this doesn't really matter, but as water gets turned off, suddenly you'll have to figure out how to get more water. I guess this may be okay if you can create water collectors. I've found a safe house by a body of water or with a well, I guess. But I found that I was literally going through 3 to 4 water bottles a day, considering that it only gives 1 point now. Before, in Bill 41, it was 6 points. I don't know if this is worth the price anymore. All right, so next up is going to be short-sighted. I've always chosen short-sighted for a negative trait. And in Bill 41, this hardly made a difference. And as long as you could keep your prescription glasses on your face, it still won't make a difference. However, should you lose your glasses in combat or tripping over a fence, your vision will blur to the effect of a -2 vision radius, which will blur to about, 10 to 20% of your screen. And although I'm not sure if this is even wearing your glasses, because I don't know, as you can see, you'll definitely have a smaller view distance, slower visibility fade, which will actually be a problem if you're panicked as well, by the way. Weapon sights become less effective if you are using a gun, and it applies the screen blur effect outside of the character radius. So wearing glasses, it's saying that it disables screen blur effect, weapon sights debuff, and foraging debuff. So that's kind of what it is. What it is, I guess. It gives you at a cost of +2. It might be okay still if you can keep your prescription glasses on your face, but still, I mean, they've really lowered the what they're giving to you, and they're taking quite a bit away from you. All right, so let's see. Smoker is another one. And in my first run, I actually used Smoker. Smoker, it doesn't really tell you much about it. Unhappiness rises when tobacco is not smoked. Stress and unhappiness decrease after smoking tobacco. You can also chew tobacco as well. Just so you guys know, there is chewing tobacco. I think a lot of that is used for farming, but you can still, if you can find it, you can still do it. I've found that about every 2 hours you need a cigarette. That's my first run. It seemed like it was quite a bit, and you can kind of negate this by reading books and stuff, and there are lots of books to read. But yeah, it's kind of a pain in the butt. It only comes in at a +2. Another one that I really liked because I didn't really think much about it was prone to illness. It's +4. It was +4 in Bill 41 as well. This actually gives you more prone to disease and a faster rate of zombification, which I never really cared about, to be honest with you. But they've changed it. Plus 70% chance of catching a cold. So if you're cold outside, you're probably going to catch a cold with prone to illness. Plus 50% cold duration. Probably not a good idea to use this during CDDA. Plus 20% cold strength, whatever that means. I guess that means that it's going to take forever to lose that cold. Minus 25% zombification duration and plus 25% corpse sickness rate. I haven't witnessed corpse sickness yet. And how vital that might be. Maybe it's going to be a big deal. I haven't killed enough zombies to do that just yet. So a weak stomach gives you a higher chance to have food illness. Now there's a 100% chance to get food poisoning and 100% food poisoning severity. Right now, there are a lot of bugs in this where you can actually eat stuff and not be affected. And it's kind of like when you're eating wild mushrooms or whatever, it's kind of even if they're poisonous, you may or may not get sick. Apparently, they're going to change that. It's a bug right now, but that basically means that if you accidentally eat something that's bad, rotten or whatever, you are probably going to die. It gives you a +3 points. I don't think that they changed that from Bill 41 as far as the cost is concerned, but that was always a go-to of mine. Might still be a go-to of mine because I can trust myself not to eat bad food, although people in my live chat would disagree. Slow Healer is another one. So what Slow Healer does, it recovers slowly from injuries and illnesses, plus 60% injury severity. What I found that it does in Bill 42 is basically you're using a lot more bandages. It doesn't feel like your injuries are taking longer to recover. Like if you get a scratch, it's probably gone the next day, but you are using a lot more bandages to affect it. So those are basically the ones that I would do to get, like, because that was a +6, that was a +4, so that was 10, 12, 15, and then another 7 would be 22 points. I think, is that everything I think that I would use? And now out of all of those, I would say probably won't use High Thirst because that's a pain in the ass, and it's not really, doesn't really give that much points. Smoker's a pain too. I might use Short-Sighted. Weak Stomach, probably. Slow Healer, maybe. Prone to Illness, probably not. So those are the, was my go-to. Let's take a look at the other ones though. So Sunday Driver, that was another one where you would just grab because you had you needed a point or something. Now you're minus 40% vehicle max speed, which might actually be a problem if you were trying to carry a trailer or whatever. Minus 25% vehicle acceleration, minus 30% reverse speed. Sunday Driver has always been kind of a pain. It's the upside is it's a lot quieter, so you're able to get through things. But of course, the downside is if you go off road, I don't know if your car will make it. And plus, if you have trailers. You might have a really difficult time with trailers. All thumbs has never been a fun thing for me. It's always been a -2, and it's still a +2, and still a +2. You transfer inventory items slowly, can't craft anything while walking, slower rope climbing speed, and higher chance of falling. Those two things are brand new to Bill 42, by the way. Slower weapons shouldering time is another thing, plus 20% slower aiming and lower chance of unjamming weapons. It's still probably, if I was to make a tier list for this, it's still way down there. F. Absolutely F. It affects everything, and I really think that all thumbs should be, if you're going to take it, it should be a 6 or an 8, personally, but that's just my opinion. All right, next up is Clumsy. Clumsy makes more noise when moving, plus 10% chance of falling after vaulting, which sucks, and 20% louder footsteps. High chance to fall while climbing walls and ropes. Higher chance of falling when bumping into a zombie. Higher chance of wounding yourself opening cans without a can opener. So this is a Clumsy might not be a good one. They've really kind of like debuffed this in a way that it's, high chance, it didn't even give you a % chance. I don't even know what high chance means, but that probably means that every time you're trying to climb to escape a group of zombies, you're probably going to fail. And by the way, this is actually a mod. It's detailed descriptions for occupations and traits. And I felt like this was a good mod to kind of like look at. With the occupations, I'm not too sure about because I think they're going to change a lot of the stuff and add more stuff. But all the traits, I don't think they're going to really mess with the traits too much. So fast metabolism gives you low strength, low endurance, and prone to injury. Plus 10% chance of falling after vaulting. Starting weight is at 70, which means it's pretty bad. That's you're pretty skinny. Replaced by very underweight if weight is lower than 65. Removed if weight is higher than 75. 20%, minus 20% damage dealt. Higher chance of falling when bumping into a zombie. So you get a -1 in fitness as well with this fast metabolism, and it's only giving you 2 points. So there's that. That's not a good thing. So here's a slow metabolism as well, and this one is the counter. You're actually going to gain weight at 100% to 200%, which might actually be better from a apocalypse standpoint, because gaining weight is a lot harder than losing weight in this game. So what this does is it gives a reduced running speed, low endurance, and prone to injury, plus 10% chance of falling after vaulting. Starting weight is at 95. So you have to go lower than 85 to get to a normal weight. That's a big 10-point drop. Replaced by obese if weight is higher than 100. And 20% fall damage and slightly higher chance of fractures and deep wounds. Climbs slower and has a moderate chance of failing and a higher chance of falling when bumping into a zombie. This is a -1 in fitness as well. Weak stomach, slow healer, we've covered those. Here's Agoraphobic, which I would never choose. Gets panicked when outdoors. Foraging bonuses is a -1.5 vision radius, and it gives you 4 points. Claustrophobic, its counterpart, is actually Rooms bigger than 70 plus 70 tiles do not cause panic. So you get panicked when you're indoors. And claustrophobic is just a pain in the butt to deal with. For 4 points, I don't think it's worth anything. Conspicuous, not really a lot to say about this. More likely to be spotted by zombies. It's very vague, and it's one of those traits. Like I think last time I did a tier list in Bill 41, people were saying that they wanted the positive traits that were like kind of like have this, that were just very vague, because what that means is that you're not relying on like skill-based type stuff, that these kind of like just like stay the same regardless, if that makes sense. Probably doesn't, but that's okay. Hard of hearing, basically a smaller perception radius and smaller hearing range. I never use that because I stream, and it's very annoying for people to watch, as well as a deaf one, which I don't do that. How many points did Conspicuous give? +4. Hard of hearing gets +4. We also have Hearty Appetite. Needs to eat more regularly, +50%. And the foraging bonus, you get a +3% chance to find animals, berries, and mushrooms and junk food, which is nice. All these occupations, by the way, are going to give you some foraging bonuses, and they're all going to be different based on your profession. Kind of cool. But you're going to need to eat more regularly, +50% to hunger. I don't know. I think they buffed that as well. Maybe not. Maybe, I don't know. All right, so Relunctant Fighter, I think that replaced, what was it? Maybe, I can't remember what it was. What it was in Bill 41, but it replaced something. You get decreased combat XP gains. The cost is the same as 41, minus 25% XP for all the skills, small blade, long blade, small blunt, long blunt, spear, axe, and aiming. So, if you, I mean, I guess it's doable. I don't think much has changed with the Reluctant Fighter. Maybe I'm being off here, but that's also one of those things. The ones that I know that they buffed are unfortunately the ones that I like the most. Sleepyhead, I don't know why anybody would take this. It's only worth 4 points, but you have a +18% in sleep duration, +30% fatigue rate, -18 fatigue recovery while sleeping. So you'll be tired all the time, and yeah, it'd be real. I mean, obviously there are things you can do to buff that with caffeine pills, and right now, with Coca-Colas and Diet Cokes, because apparently they reset your sleepiness, but that's going to change here in the next couple weeks, I imagine. Fear of blood, which used to be hemophobia, is a panic when performing first aid on the self, and it gives you 5 points. Cannot perform first aid on others. That's in multiplayer, which won't be happening for at least probably 6 months to a year. And you get stressed when bloody. If you're not near a lake or you don't plan on being near some body of water, this is probably a terrible thing to choose because it gives you anxiety and a lot of panic, and panic decreases accuracy. And yeah, it's just one of those things, one of those not so great ones that looks great at first. Short of breath is probably another one that say gets 5 points. So if you're noticing a trend here, they're all giving less points, and the cost of them is a lot higher. +40% endurance loss while running or sprinting, +20% endurance loss while attacking. So you're gonna be like tired a lot quicker when you're fighting, and combine that with muscle strain, which is gonna like lower your ability to the power of your attack, and you're panicked, that will lower the accuracy of your attack. Just not really a good thing to choose coming out of the gate. Out of shape, another one that's probably not very good. It just gives a -2 in fitness, unless you're planning on working out and getting that. As anybody that's been playing in Bill 41 knows, working out is like no fun, and you're gonna have to do it every day to see any kind of things. You can always run around and stuff, but the low endurance regeneration is gonna be pretty terrible. We also have Restless Sleeper, which gives you a slow loss of tiredness while sleeping. It takes twice as long to fall asleep, 50% sleep duration, -50% sleep duration, -50% fatigue recovery while sleeping. This will basically make you wake up throughout the nights. You have night terrors, that kind of stuff, and you'll just be tired all the time, which really affects combat in a very negative way. But once again, if you have a Coke or a Diet Coke, at least now at the time of this video, you can just reset it. But once again, that's probably going to change. We also have Slow Learner at a +6, -30% XP for all skills, minus fitness and strength. Weak, -10% carrying weight, -2 in strength. This -2 in strength is probably what you need to pay attention to the most. And you also have a less knockback with melee weapons. So that's kind of like a double-edged sword with the muscle strain, because you're not going to be able to like knock zombies down near as effectively. All right, illiterate. Illiterate, you cannot read books. Any books or in-world text, it's a +8. It's nothing's changed with this. It was a +8 in Bill 41. The only difference now is, and this makes for a kind of an interesting run if you want, is that you don't have to read books. You can now learn by doing. So if you want to do carpentry work or whatever, you can actually learn all the carpentry skills just by leveling up. You can also do a level 3 electrical. And actually, when I say carpentry, that's a bad example because you could do that before. But any of the magazines and stuff that you can find, some of the newer traits or skills like napping, you can actually build up just by doing and gaining levels. So it makes this Bill 42 makes illiterate more of a possibility. You can also learn commercial and vehicles and things like that, so you can eventually start to work on cars. Right. Thin skin is something that I have been choosing here lately. +8, a higher chance of being scratched or bitten. Zombie attacks are 1.3 times more likely to injure you, slightly more vulnerable to trees, scratches, and cuts. The reason why I think that this is a little bit more of a doable, and probably, I don't know, thin skin will probably go on like an A tier if I was to make a tiered list, because tailoring has been revamped to the point where you can actually make like armor and things like that. If you want to couple this with with some sort of tailoring trait, this might actually work for you. I like it because when you're more advanced, you kind of know how to fight. Now that doesn't mean that I don't get bitten every now and then, but it does mean that there's less of a chance. And finally, Puny and Unfit and Deaf, I'm not going to go into. They give +10 on both of these. Haven't really changed. 12 on Deaf. I think that was in Bill 41 as well. Some of the negative traits I kind of left off unceremoniously that I probably should have addressed include slow reader, which reading books have gotten nerfed to a degree, as well as conspicuous, which means that you'll have a 100% chance of being spotted. Those weren't left off on purpose. I just missed them, and neither have changed in point cost, although slow reader may now be more problematic as reading will take a much longer time, even fast forwarding. Well, that's about it. Once again, a shout out to the detailed descriptions for occupations and traits mod, as I wouldn't have been able to make this without it. Link is in the description below. Sub, like, comment, yada yada, creator speak. Until next time, I'm Drunkonlife. Goodbye.